Hello, everyone. So thank you for being here so early today. So as Virgile said, so France today develops la suite numérique, and I'm here to talk about another project that was developed over the recent years by Germany, more specifically by the Bundesministerium des Innern und für Heimat, which is the Ministry of Interior in Germany. And so we'll see, well, what's the status for this project. We have a look at what are the components of the project, how it was built, how it's financed, and what is its roadmap, basically. So very quickly about me. So my name is Clément Aubin. I'm sales director at XWiki. XWiki, we are a very small company that is doing open source software for about 20 years today. We are doing XWiki and CryptPad in particular. If you have any question about these, we can talk about it. We have a small booth in the hall, but that's really not the focus here. So, openDesk is a suite so it's a product essentially that aims at being an open source alternative to Office 365. At least, so that was the initial idea of creating the suite. As I said, the idea of this suite was initiated by the Bundesministerium des Innern und für Heimat, so the Ministry of Interior in Germany, in about around 2020. And most of the financing so far has been done through this ministry. Now today there are plans to shift the financing, and we'll see that a bit later on. Since 2023, actually, the ownership of the project was transferred to Zendis. Zendis is basically a company that is owned by the German state, which aimed at centralizing every open source project led by Germany. In particular, there is one which is called Open Code, which is some sort of a forge for open source projects in Germany. Some key numbers, maybe. So today, the funding for openDesk, it's around 65 million over 3 years. It's not just for software development, of course. There is a little bit of analysis of the needs, project management also. The project itself involves around 14 entities. So that's vendors, that's project management, consulting firms, that's also like the ministry itself. So to give you an idea also, in 2023 we had around 25 million euros funding, and about half of that was dedicated to developing open source software. So, as I said, well, as you probably have guessed, openDesk is essentially really a unique cooperation between public and private services. In that case, the idea is really to develop a suite while working with integrators in a way. Sorry, not integrators, with vendors, so software producers. And the goal is to create a suite which has tools for productivity, so essentially Office document editing, collaboration, so everything which is diagrams, knowledge management, project management, and also communication. So communication is email, chats, video conferencing. One of the key aspects of this suite is really that at the heart of the project, the BMI, the ministry wants it to be really, let's say, interchangeable. Like each brick that is providing, for example, productivity solutions, or diagram editing, or email, can be removed from the project at some point while trying to minimize kind of the amount of work it would take to put a new brick in. So that's kind of the big dream of the project. Today, technically, it's a little bit difficult, but that's one of the key aspects. One of the aspects of the project, one of the goals of the project is also to have a unique UX. So basically try to be as smooth as possible, because basically functional users don't really care about, well, actually being on one solution or another. They want to have like a unified suite with a unified UX. We want integrated applications. Of course, we don't want to have to create multiple times user accounts. That makes sense. And the last point, which is to me very important, one of the goals of the project, of course, is to deploy that within the German government, within the lenders in Germany, the regions. And in order to do that, you have to pass some levels of certification. So there is certification when it comes to security. Germany has a certification called BSI C5, BSI Grundschutz, which essentially checks the security of the infrastructure that is running the suite, but also the way that you are developing software. the way that you handle bugs, for example, making sure that you have the correct release process, that kind of things. And there is also a part of certification which is about making sure that you have correct compliance when it comes to accessibility, for example. So being WCAG AA compliant. And so that's one of the objectives of the project. If we have a look, so today the project is made of several solutions. So basically for each needs, each need of productivity, collaboration, and communication I mentioned, you have one solution that corresponds to that. And here you have all the vendors that are included in the project. So Nextcloud is providing the files. Univention is providing authentication, access management, and it's also providing a user portal for the users to connect. XWiki provides a wiki. Jitsi is Jitsi is with Nordic and they provide video conferencing solutions. Element is for the chat. CryptPad is not really in the form that you know if you use CryptPad.fr. It's providing diagram editing within Nextcloud. OpenProject does project management. Collabora does Office document editing. And OpenExchange is in charge of emails. Quick history, and then I'll go into the details, and I have a couple of slides where you can see how it looks like. So, as I said, the project started in 2020, and globally the idea of starting the project was to try to have at some point an alternative to Office 365. Initially, the project was led by the BMI, so the Ministry, Dataport, which is a company providing public IT services, IT services for the public sector in Germany, Univention, Nextcloud, and OpenExchange. And then progressively, some partners, some other vendors were integrated within the project so that the suite gets to its actual scope. So you had Element, Nordic with Jitsi, Collabora. In 2023, you had also OpenProject, XWiki, and CryptPad that joined. And now in 2024, there is, no one joined, but we released the first stable version of the suite. When it comes to the architecture, so if we look at the thing a little bit more technically, essentially the suite openDesk deploys on Kubernetes. It's solely based on Helm chart and a little bit of GitLab CI code. Of course, the project is open source, so it's Apache licensed. I think I have a couple links in the presentation so that you can check them out afterwards. Essentially, each vendor will package its own solution within Docker containers. There are different ways to do it. We try to have the packaging and also the customization we have to do for the suite that are as standard as possible, so that for each software, it's really not a pain to maintain it. Well, when it comes to the distribution of the suite, so all the sources of all the software that are used to compose the suite are mirrored on OpenCode. OpenCode is the forge that is used by the German government for open source projects. One thing that is, I believe, really cool is that as part of the compliance efforts that we are doing in order to develop the suite within the German government, all the application, all the components, and the whole suite itself comes with software bills of materials that are signed, plus license audits. So really, when you are deploying openDesk, you know that you are deploying open source code. Like basically, we make sure that all the code that we are deploying checks out on a list of licenses that are considered open source by the German government, which is essentially a little bit shorter than the list that you have for the open source initiative. As I said, the suite gets a full BSIC 5 audit. Fairly important, basically making sure that each application has a correct development cycle, that releases, for example, that we don't release a new version of the software without any unknown CVE. And we also have documentation for installation and maintenance. I have to warn you, a part of this documentation is in German, so you will have to translate it yourself. Here you have a couple links if you want to try to deploy openDesk. I'm not saying it's very, very easy, but it's doable. So let's have a look at what it looks like. So I actually, if you want, I have a working instance on accessible from the internet. The main issue is that I don't really trust having a good Wi-Fi here. Yeah, we can talk about that later on if you wish. Anyway, so when you are logged in, this is what you see. So this is an invention, essentially. You have a user portal with access to the different apps that you want. It's also possible to configure the portal so that you can add internal apps that are not part of openDesk, but that you use within your systems. Up. So if we go within the email apps, for example, we get into Open Exchange. The first thing you will probably see is that we are trying to make the suite as white label as possible. So it's basically very easy to theme the suite to match a specific theme, like change the logo at the top, change maybe the colors, that kind of things. And the goal is really to provide this unified experience. Now, if I want to send an email and I want to, for example, attach a file to my email, then I will get a box here to choose a file, and this file will be chosen from my drive in Nextcloud. And so that makes it very easy, essentially, to exchange file. I can also, instead of just attaching the file to the email, I can also just provide a link to Nextcloud, and then the permissions on the file will be automatically updated so that the recipient of the email has, well, basically access to it. So it's really meant to be that user-friendly. Another point is, so just next to the logo on the left side, you don't see it that well here, but on the left side there is the logo and there is a small icon. The small icon, when you click on it, it shows a navigation menu that allows you to switch from one application to another. And that's very important also. So that basically you can like hop on from the email to your drive, to your project management, etc., etc. Another example, so if I go in the agenda part, I can so create a new invitation, and then you will see a teleconference beitreten, I think. I'm sorry, it's the German version. So it basically says, join the video conference, and if I click on it, I will get to Element, which is doing the chat, which has also integrated Jitsi. So I get into an Element room with a whiteboard and also a Jitsi at the top. That's the black part, where I can do my call, and I can also chat with the participants. Then if we look at the other features, at the back, you see Nextcloud, which is doing the file management. And then you have Collabora, which is integrated into Nextcloud so that you can edit spreadsheets, well, Office documents, so text documents, presentation, and spreadsheets, essentially. And then if you want to edit diagrams, we've integrated the diagram editor from CryptPad. So the same idea, basically the edition is meant to be as flawless as possible. And yeah, and so if we look at the two last applications, so you have project management at the back, managed by Open Project. So really nice alternative. For example, if you are using Jira or something else, you can easily structure your data with that. And also XWiki at the front to manage all the knowledge. The idea is that so. These applications today are within the suite, and the goal is also, as time goes, to create more and more ties between the applications in order to have an experience that is as seamless as possible, I would say. So when it comes to the roadmap, very quickly, as I said, the first stable version of openDesk is available since March 2024, with all the applications that you saw in these couple slides. And then there is a question about the after, basically. What are we doing into 24? What will be the next things into 25? So right now, well, it's difficult, of course, to predict the future. In particular, because so Zendisk took over the project. There is a plan to finance the development, well, the maintenance and also development of the suite. On the long term, there is also a question about providing openDesk as two versions, one community edition, which is basically fully open source, and then another one which is for enterprise deployments, where you can have more advanced features that are needed when you are doing deployment at scale, for example, for large ministries, large administrations. Again, the goal is to continue on functional integrations, so integration between apps so that like the experience is as smooth as possible. Some improvements on conformity, so making sure that it passes WCAG, for example. And then globally, there is a big question on distribution of openDesk. So today, openDesk is mainly targeted towards the German market, in particular the public market in Germany. So that's ministries, but also the Bundesländer, the regions within Germany. But we at XWiki, we believe that there is also an interest of providing openDesk at a European level. So that's also a possibility that we are looking at. Yeah, and I think that's all for me. Thank you.